look who's back on YouTube, ALPB Roundup, back to the YouTube channel because this ain't for Instagram. This isn't a game recap or a series recap. This is a playoff preview. Welcome back to ALPB Roundup. It is good to be back to the YouTube channel. Good to be hearing the soothing and sultry tones of the troubadour Bryce Hensley, who we'll be talking about. He'll get the shout out in a little bit, talking about the playoff series we have. But we are back on the YouTube channel so that we can discuss the playoffs. Yes, the playoffs. We're finally here to the Atlantic League, 132 or 131, depending on the team. Games later, we have made it to what I want to say is the finish line, but it ain't the finish line. It's really just the start line. The finish line for 6 of you. It's the start line for 4 of you. So let's get to talking about the playoff preview here. We got a lot that we can dig into. So first, let's start with, we'll go to the South Division Championship Series. How about that? And we'll start first with the Gastonia Honey Hunters. They've earned it, man. They've just completed one of the most successful seasons in Atlantic League history. One of the top 2, maybe 3 seasons of all time. Really impressive. So far, just for some context, they're first in OPS, they're second in batting average, first in ERA, that's first in bullpen ERA, second in starter ERA, a complete baseball team. 88-44 records, the best in the league by 5 games, and 17 games better than the High Point Rockers, who they'll be playing in the first round here. Their plus 248 run differential is 91 runs better than the second best run differential in the league. It's unreal. I mean, it's more than half a run better than anyone else in the league per game. It's hard to say just how incredible this is. Especially when you consider where they came from. We're not going to go into the full deep dive on that, but we will eventually do sort of an autopsy on this season and talk about how Gastonia flipped it from a real train wreck last season to what they have become. Just the going from a train wreck to a freight train. It has been quite a turnaround for the Honey Hunters. Along the way, they've shattered the single season stolen base record of 269. They ended up finishing the regular season with 305. Reese Hampton led the way with 65 of those steals. While we're talking offense, Zach Jarrett has led the way for Gastonia, slashing .313, .380, .531 with 21 homers, good for a 4.3 WAR season. Second baseman Joseph Rosa, he'll be key in this series, 4th in the league in slugging and OPS. He also has 21 homers, contributing to a 5.1 WAR campaign out of him. That's incredible work. Rosa's middle infield partner, Jack Reinheimer, is another one of the reasons that Gastonia has been so good this year, finding multiple ways to contribute at the plate, on the bases. I think he's got 55 steals in the year, and he gets buried under Reese Hampton, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he had a 4.8 year WAR season of his own here. So it's really a complete team. A lineup just full of problems if you're a pitching staff. So they are a difficult matchup for anybody at this point. On the mound, look for possibly new dad Johnny Anderson. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he'll make a comeback for the series. Maybe he won't. We'll be keeping an eye out on who the pitching matchups are. But Anderson, he has the league's 3rd best ERA among starters. Just had a kid. He might be back, might not be back. I haven't gotten confirmation on that one, but he does lead the league with a .232 opponent's batting average. So keep an eye on that one if he is on the mound for Gastonia. Now, if he's not, it's still got Matt Salter, late season addition to Alex Nabi, who's been dealing since he got to Gastonia. A couple of his sort of I guess like the numbers on the edges kind of suggest maybe he's getting away with some things, but he has been great so far. Riley Hovis and Zach Godley have also been very good on the mound. In the bullpen, it's Sam Bordner, Jesus Balaguer, Onis Farfan, and Tim Naughton leading the way for Gastonia. It is a very well put together team. Meanwhile, the High Point Rockers have had a good season as well. 71-61 is not a bad year. It's just, when you're comparing it to Gastonia, it's tough. Finishing 71-61, the Rockers have had that above average season, but they've really slowed down of late. We'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, they flew out the gates, but then right about the time it became evident it was going to be Gastonia and High Point battling, High Point started losing some pitchers, injuries, but also mostly signings by two Major League affiliated teams. So they have really struggled to kind of cobble things back together, and they have gotten it. They've been hot of late, and they got hot at the right time, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The Rockers' offense is led by Xander Wheel. Xander's 32 homers placed him second behind tied for the record holder, Courtney Hawkins, who hit 48. More on that another time, but we're talking playoffs right now, you know what I'm saying? That placed him second in the league this year and 3rd in slugging. Altogether, he had a 3.3 WAR season. Logan Morrison's also contributed a lot to this lineup, especially down the stretch, accumulating a 2.8 WAR season and a 135 OPS plus just over 93 games that he's played, so I'm in a full season. Jerry Downs, he has the league's 5th highest OPS at 926. Look for, looking on the mound, I'm just rolling through the roster here. Look for Craig Stem. We're not really sure who they're going to throw, if I'm honest with you. I got to suspect Craig Stem. Ivan Pinheiro, I think, was thrown out there. I feel like they're going to throw Neil Scully. You got Mitch Atkins on the team right now, and knuckleballer Mickey Janis, even though he's been coming out of the pen a lot. He's been gross. So they got multiple arms they could deploy very creatively. I know Neil Scully, if I recall, he's done some piggyback work out of either coming out of the bullpen or sort of doing an opener role. So they could do a lot of different things depending on how they need to use pitchers. But that flexibility is going to be good because if you get in trouble early in a game, you know that you can get a little creative with things and not blow out your whole rotation and bullpen for the next few days of the series. Gabriel Castellanos, Bryce Hensley, the troubadour Bryce Hensley, Ryan Dull, and Kyle Mott have all had moments of being unhittable this season. But boy, Cameron Cotter, Tyler Higgins, and Junior Rincon, looking at that bullpen, when they're in relief roles, all have sub-2 ERAs. So that is definitely a strong point for High Points. You're going to want to get those runs early on them. So far this season, Gastonia has won 20 of the 34 matchups between these teams, and the win probability projections favor them by nearly 5% in every game this series. Altogether, the projections do give the Honey Hunters a 57% chance of winning the series. On to the North Division Series, where the Blue Crabs and Barnstormers meet after each claiming 1/2 in the North Division. Despite being 10 games worse than the Blue Crabs over the course of the entire year, the Barnstormers have steadily been improving and, in fact, won the second half over the Blue Crabs by 9 games. So, basically means they lost the first half by 19. But talk about a turnaround for the Barnstormers. Lancaster has been terrific as of late, specifically at home, where they won 26 of 34 in the second half. Kelly Dugan's injury, and they lost him, I want to say, in early August, late July, if I recall. He was right in the home run race at the time. That's hurt them, but boy, Andretti Cordero is ripping the ball right now, picking up the slack. Finished the season second in average, second in ribbies, first in hits, fourth in extra base hits, second in total bases, played in every game during the year. All of this totals to a 5.1 WAR season for the 25-year-old infielder. Looking to the bump, you got Brooks Hall, Niall Ball, Oscar De La Cruz, and Cameron Gahn. They'll probably be just trying to get the game. Well, I don't know. It depends. Brooks Hall's been dealing. Niall Ball's been really looking good, especially compared to last year. He's going in the right direction. De La Cruz and Gahn, you will see what you get from them day to day. I expect those to be the 4 they throw in the series, unless they go and do something funny with it. It's tough to tell what they're going to do with it. They have options. But the pen includes recent addition Gray Fenter, who has looked very good, Josh Graham, Brett Clark, Brandon Sidinger, Wes Tunnel, and Donald Goodson. A lot of hard throwers in that pen. Really, the goal is to keep it close. This offense is very good. In fact, comparing the two teams, I believe I compared position to position, and other than DH, Lancaster has a higher OPS from each position over Southern Maryland. So really the pitching has to keep it close, give the offense a chance, and get the ball into the hands of the bullpen and really allow for a challenge. And now that's not to say Southern Maryland doesn't have a great bullpen. We'll talk about them now, actually. They got a tough task, to take on Southern Maryland. They opened the year winning 11 head-to-head matchups against Lancaster. Southern Maryland's pitching staff, of course, led by Darryl Thompson, obviously, Mitch Lamson, Alex Merrithew, all in the top 5 in ERA in the league. The rotation has not only pitched great, but also allowed the bullpen to throw. All right, follow me. The bullpen's only thrown 328 and 2/3 innings. That is 25% fewer innings than any other bullpen in the league. And that bullpen is not only fresh, it is also talented, led by Andres Persino, who has allowed just 4 earned over 47-plus innings of work, striking out 73. New additions, James Dykstra, Alcy Serrero, have strengthened what was already a very nasty bullpen. Might have Matt Latos active. I'm not sure what his situation is, but they've been great regardless. So late innings could be very fascinating between these two teams. Lancaster's a little more prone to imploding from the bullpen side, but also they can really do battle. So this is going to be a good series. The win probabilities have this one much closer than the South Division series. Southern Maryland is currently being given a 53% chance to advance to the championship over Lancaster, but these projections are very close and actually favor Lancaster to win at least one of their 2 home games to open the series. So my predictions here, the projections, like Gastonia in 4 games in the South Division, but I'm going to go all the way and predict a Gastonia sweep over the Rockers. I think there's just too much pitching from Gastonia. Their offense is chaotic, it's strong, it's high pressure, they're moving on the bases, thrives at home, exhausts the pitcher. It really asks a lot of a pitching staff. I don't think High Point will have what it takes to compete 5 straight games with them. In fact, I don't think they're going to need to, because I think Gastonia will take the 2 games at home where they were very good, and I think they will do enough that it's just going to be a matter of finishing the job in Game 3 in High Point. The projections also pick Southern Maryland to win in 4 games, but I think Lancaster finds a way to get done in 5. It's basically a coin flip. It's so close. Southern Maryland is very good. Their pitching is fantastic. Lancaster has been making them work lately. I know Southern Maryland didn't throw their best at Lancaster, especially over the past weekend where they got swept by Lancaster, but it was awkwardly right before the series, so they weren't showing their best. But Lancaster has, since losing those first 11 games, won 5 out of their last 6 matchups with Southern Maryland. I think Lancaster can keep it going. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to ask a lot of them. I think it's going to put them badly behind the 8 ball when it comes to facing Gastonia, if Gastonia, as I predict, wins the series and does it in 3. But I think it's going to be a very, very, very good series in the North. I do think the South's going to be interesting too. So if High Point can grab one of those first 2 games, we got a war on our hands down there too. So lots to keep an eye on in the South Division. Looking forward to it. Having a lot of fun watching this playoff race, which was very good. Got kind of a gap at the end. It was a little less interesting, but at least it let these teams line up their pitching staff so we can get the best of these teams for the playoffs. We got baseball to watch. I'll try to get a game recap probably on the Instagram after tonight's action, and I'll talk about both games. So check it out on Instagram. Keep following on Twitter. I'm Ryan from ALPB Roundup. Y'all have a good one.
I may not have a lot, but I love what I got. A 4x4 and a good fishing spot. I hope this time my card won't decline.